House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's optimistic Congress can avoid a government shutdown. Speaking to reporters Tuesday, Johnson said in order for that to happen, leaders on both sides of the aisle must work together. The government funding deadline is set for September 30th. Johnson says they're working through the appropriations process and no one desires a shutdown.
So we'll be working in earnest over the next few days and next couple of weeks to ensure that doesn't happen. Stay tuned for the details. As you know, everyone was out on the district work period, and now they've all just gathered, and so there'll be a tsunami of activity here for the next, we'll have some sleepless nights wrapping it all up and getting it done.
Johnson says the ball is in the Democrats' corner. The House Speaker had a discussion with Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries Tuesday on how to reach a bipartisan deal. Jeffries said he made it clear Democrats are not going to accept a partisan funding legislation. President Trump's no tax on tips policy puts cash back in Americans' hands. One America's Angel Russell has more.
President Trump promised to cut taxes for American workers, and he's doing it. 68 jobs now qualify under his no tax on tips policy.
We said that if you're working hard and you're making your income via tips, we are not going to tax tips anymore because we want to give everybody out there that's working hard for those tips a little bit of relief.
The law covers several occupations, including waiters, bartenders, musicians, housekeepers, delivery workers, and several more. In short, millions of service industry workers. The policy allows up to $25,000 in tips to be tax-free. Tipped workers will still need to file their tax returns to claim the no tax benefit in order to receive the full payment back from the IRS.
There's no benefit right now. It's going to be when they file their tax return, and then do they meet the criteria? Do they have support?
Republicans say it's a game changer for working Americans who depend on tips to make ends meet. Some Democrats complain it only helps a small group, but Republicans argue it's real relief, money that goes straight back to the people who earn it, not to the government.
Because we believe that you ought to keep more of your hard-earned money, and we believe that if you're busting your rear end every single day, the government ought to make it easier for you and not harder for you, and that's why we fought for that legislation.
It's another example of President Trump keeping his promises to cut taxes, help workers, and put America first. For One America News, I'm Angel Russell.
Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance will be traveling to Minneapolis to mourn the children who were killed in the Annunciation Church shooting. The White House said the pair will be visiting Minneapolis today. They will reportedly be hosting private meetings with the victims' families to share their condolences. This comes as 2 children were killed and 23 others were injured by an armed suspect while attending Mass last week. DHS is rolling out a new plan to boost immigration enforcement through local police partnerships. On Tuesday, the 287G Program Task Force, which exists to coordinate training and operations between immigration officials and local police, is now offering full reimbursement to departments for salaries and benefits of trained officers. Currently, state and local police from 40 states are participating in the program, with more than 8,000 trained task force officers and over 2,000 additional officers in training. While the Trump administration remains confident the Supreme Court will uphold President Trump's power to impose tariffs, the White House has a backup plan. One America's Taylor Tinsley has more.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the administration has a few tricks up its sleeve, hinting officials have come up with some backup plans should the Supreme Court strike down President Trump's sweeping tariffs. This comes after a 7-4 ruling from a U.S. appeals court said most of his tariffs were illegal. The administration is confident the Supreme Court will uphold Trump's authority to issue duties using a 1977 law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEPA. President Trump says his tariffs have brought more than $15 trillion into the U.S., and terminating them would turn America into a third world nation. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the tariffs are a national emergency, working to help massive trade deficits.
We've had these gigantic trade deficits, and I tell you, they were heading toward financial ruin. President Trump has stepped in before we hit the financial calamity. That's why this is an emergency.
Recent numbers from the Commerce Department showed the deficit in goods grew by over 22% in July, from nearly $85 billion to more than $103 billion. Senior trade advisor Peter Navarro emphasizes the tariffs also aim to stop the deadly amount of fentanyl flowing into the U.S.
It's unconscionable that communist China, in league with the Mexican and Canadian drug cartels, are killing Americans with fentanyl and now this new designer drug, it's called nitidine. And if that's not a national emergency, I don't know what is.
Besant told Reuters he was preparing a legal brief underscoring the urgency of addressing the trade deficit and fight against fentanyl. He says he's confident the Supreme Court will uphold the president's authority to use IEPA. There are lots of other authorities that can be used. Section 338 of the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1939, for example, allows the president to impose up to 50% tariffs against countries discriminating against U.S. commerce for 5 months. The court's order wouldn't officially go into effect until October 14th, which is how long the administration has to file an appeal. Taylor Tinsley, One America News.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.